Let's jump in and get started and listen to the sound of Venus in this Sound of Astrology video. Okay. I love Venus, even though mine is in retrograde, and it's been probably one of the hardest planets for me to figure out how to utilize for me because it's in retrograde personally. But listening to other people's Venus when it's direct has been one of my favorite things to listen to actually to date. Okay, so a lot of astrologers have their own take on Venus, and I think a lot of astrologers have their own take on all of the planets, and I think that's really fantastic. And I would actually encourage everyone that's watching this to really listen to their astrology through their gifts and through their abilities. So you have your own gifts and talents, and you can tap into that to astrology using those. And that's what helped me understand astrology the best, is really tapping into my gifts and my abilities. And that is shown in my own natal chart. I feel like I'm like side tracking for just a second, but it's shown in my own natal chart with Uranus in retrograde. I really have to go in to gather information, and I gather information in very creative ways for me. So if you haven't seen the Understanding Your Magic video, planets in retrograde, I highly recommend going and watching it. Okay, so let's jump in to Venus, Venus direct. So, Venus is the planet of love. Venus is the planet of attraction. And when I very first listened to Venus, I heard her say, "Hey, baby," like, come on, come to me, with the like little wiggly hands, a very attractive, but in a very specific way. So, she was saying to me, this is how people like this is the area of life that people attract things into their from their physical existence to support them in that area of life, right? So Venus represents, in the house that it's in, represents the area of our life that we naturally pull in things from the physical world to support us in that area of our life. And I can attest to this, even with my planet in retrograde. As soon as I really tap into what is I want and not expectations of anybody else, things do happen like super fast for me. Okay, so I want to talk about this a little bit because I have a couple of really fun examples that I want to share with Venus direct in the exact same house for two different women that I know. Okay, both of these women have Venus direct in their ninth house, but they show up wildly different, and it is so fantastic. And it's a great example to me of yes, I know it has to do with the signs, but it also has to do with the person. And this is why, as much as I love uh, generalized astrology understanding, listening to your own natal chart and really understanding what it's saying to you about you is so profoundly helpful. So that's what I do in my sessions. I really listen to what the planets are saying to me about that specific person. So let's jump in. Um, I know one woman whose Venus is in the ninth house. So the ninth house is all about learning, it's all about religion, it's about travel, which she loves to do, and travel comes to her, right? But there's a lot of other things in her chart that will signify that. But this is how Venus shows up in her life. This girl finds amazing deals on clothes and shoes and accessories and anything that has to do with her body. So, as I was listening to her chart one day, I started to giggle because I was like, do you know why all of this stuff comes so easily to you? It's because The clothes you put are on your body give information to other people about you. And she laughed so hard and said that was very true. And she really like, because this girl, like, she will shop at secondhand stores and find brand new pairs of shoes. She will shop at secondhand stores and find the most, like, the coolest clothes in the best shape ever. And it's just like she doesn't spend hours of her time going to these places. She just walks in and there are these shoes that fit perfectly that are like brand new, name brand, like Nikes and like really nice Nikes. So it is just so incredible. But she is also like, what I wear will tell you about me. And so she was like, very much, this is the case, right? Now, I know another woman, and her Venus is also in the ninth house. So the house of learning and education. Now, this woman, when she wants to learn about something, she just thinks about it, or it's just an assignment. Um, Things show up in her physical world that have to do with that thing. So, for example, she had a project for school and she was studying this very rare frog. And when I told her that things show up in her physical existence to help her learn, she like got up from the dining room table, walked over to the coffee table, grabbed the National Geographic, walked over to me, like not saying a single word to me, walked over to me, laid, like opened the National Geographic and laid it down and said, I'm doing a research project about this frog, that this like really rare frog. And I was like, oh my word. And she's like, information about this frog is showing up in my space everywhere. And she was just like, what you're saying is so true. It really is showing up in all of these different places in my life. And she was able to recognize that it wasn't just this isolated event, right? It was like when she wants to learn something, it's like, and this is how I really saw it and experienced it. It was like the information rushes to her. And this is what's so beautiful. And we can take this as I love Venus. Can you tell how excited I am about this? This is how we can take the law of attraction and really practice it in our life. So we're like, okay, because sometimes the law of attraction feels like something that's hard to control, something that's hard, like we feel like we have to control it or manipulate it. Like, how do we work with it? And this is where we can see in our life how we best connect to the law of attraction is through our Venus and how things are naturally coming into our world. Now, I do want to say this, and this is like a little caveat because it sounds simple and it sounds really easy. And that might not always be the case with our Venus, right? Depending on what relationships our Venus is having with other planets. If our Venus is in retrograde, like all of these things will impacts how we are interacting with our Venus. It impacts how we are able to receive in our physical environment. Now, I say that, and I also want to say this. There is hope, and there is a lot of hope because you're already utilizing it. It's already working for your good in some way in your life. It's just a matter of being able to identify how it's working, when it's working, and then harnessing the power of that so that you can have a greater expression of that, so that you can harness the power and really, like I see harness the power, and this is what I imagine. I imagine myself in a chariot, and I've got two horses, like one of those standing chariots from, like a long time ago. Standing in one of those chariots, and I've got two like powerhouse horses, and I'm holding the reins, right? So this is Venus, And when we understand the horses, when we understand the reins, right? Like how we best utilize our Venus, then we can crack those reins. We can steer the ship so much easier. And all of this presents to us in a way that we can um, express our lives in the way that we desire them. Oftentimes, we think about expression simply communication through our voice. And I want to say, yes, that there is a huge part of that. And expression is also living. Expression is also doing. Expression is also being. So, how are we being with our Venus? How are we doing with our Venus? How are we living with our Venus? How are we talking to our Venus? And what are we listening? What is our Venus saying to us? Venus is so exciting. Okay. That's it for today. I would love to hear, comment below what house your Venus is in. What sign is it sitting in? And like and subscribe for more sound of astrology videos. We'll see you next time. Bye.